Hello, everyone. Hello. Long time no see. Long time no see. It's been a while. Hi. How's it going? We're gonna take a couple minutes at the beginning of the live stream because I can't not get the chat to show up on screen, and I would like that. So hello, everyone. Let me know that you can hear me. I hope you're doing well. And then we're going to fix this, and then I'll show you all the cool things we're checking out today. Thank you, Frey. Thank you. Because I like it when I can see all of your chats on the screen, and it also makes just for a better video after, you know? Let's see what we can do here. Boink. Oh man, I think our last live stream, if I had to guess, I think our last live stream was like, I guess November. I don't think I've done a live stream since November, and I miss doing them. I miss being on here, riding, you right along there with me. Those were good times. I think I did like 40 hours of live streams back in November. And I think there's some people here in the chat like Zender, Angela, and Frey. You guys were there. I don't know for all 40 hours, but you were there. And I'll never forget that. We did it. I'm gonna crank the music up here while I fix this chat. Which Mac am I using? Oh Lord, this would be an M1 Mac Pro 16-inch now for the for my live streaming, but I do all my video editing on a different MacBook. That's an older one, but a bigger one, stronger one. And then I also have a Windows desktop. You never know where I'm gonna be. All right, I think we're almost there. All right, let's go with an OBS extension YouTube chat. Bam. How's everyone doing? How many people do we have here that were in the writing challenge over the past couple days? I know Frey, you put in a story. Zender, you put in a story. Right? Oh, hey! Isabel, hello. What'd you guys think about the theme this time around? I'm always interested in yes, extension. I'm always interested because I choose a theme that is supposed to be able to be like taken in 100 different directions. And it's always interesting because there must be some obvious choice that people choose to go for because you see some of the same themes. Like one, I think the very first one we did was maybe there's one that we did. We had a lot of like space going to the edge of the universe stuff. We got 2 mole stories in our current theme of Beneath the Surface. What does that mean? All right, we're almost there. We're almost there. Thanks for hanging out with me. Running Out of Space. That was the first one. I think that was my favorite theme, but also it was just super exciting because it was the first writing challenge that we did, you know? Those were exciting days. Now we're all old and jaded, writing stories all the time. Bray says, it was cool to see how people interpreted the theme. I thought it would all go in the direction of water or murder, or hell or underground. See, I chose Beneath the Surface. Whenever I'm choosing a theme for one of the writing challenges, one of the things I look for is there is I don't know how long it's been running, but there's this game jam that runs all the time called Ludum Dare. And they always have cool themes that can be interpreted in a bunch of different ways. So I look to them for inspiration. And so I'm always like, okay, I need to make sure I choose a theme that could be interpreted in any genre. That's a big thing because like, I don't want to force you to write something you don't want to write. I want you to be able to like do your thing, you know? And so I thought Beneath the Surface could be like the beneath the surface of like someone who's acting one way to the crowd, but then like underneath is crazy, or it could be under the water or under the dirt or any number of things. The second one was just murder. Ain't nothing wrong with that. People like murder stories. How do I get this? We're almost there, gang. We're almost there. Makes me feel like I'm at the inn. Tolkien and Lewis are discussing their books on the next table over. I like being near challenges. Hey, being near challenges is a great place to be. You get to have all the fun and none of the sweat. Dang. Well, we may just not have chat on the screen today, which is disappointing. Kind of works on the screen. I see Zender's icon. You see Zender's icon? I can't even see Zender's icon. I don't know what you're seeing. If you can see the chat on the screen, then you're seeing something I'm not seeing. Because of how I'm scrambling to do it, you would see chat all over the place. I see icons, I don't see anything. What in the world? That's crazy. All right, let's get rid of some things here. I won't hold you guys up too long. Oh, it's the writing theory icon. Yes, that you will definitely see. What you should be seeing is the whole dang chat. Zender is writing theory. New conspiracy theory in the chat. Yes, that's what we need. Let's update this, save that, launch this. Right, unfortunately, it looks like chat will not be on screen today. RIP, you'll be here in my hearts, you'll be on the live replay, but I won't hold you up too long because we got stuff to do. We got stuff to do. Rosewater, no, we're in prison. All right, that's what it's gonna feel like. But you know what? Now you can't say anything egregious that's gonna make it to the YouTube video that comes out of all this. Frey, specifically Frey. I don't have to blur out anything in the. I didn't have to do that last time, but I was a little worried. All right, let me tell you what we got planned today. Now we can actually get started. It is gonna feel a little lonely on screen without all the stuff coming by. Rosewater, you better be careful. YouTube's always watching. Here's the plan today. I'd say like 6 months ago, it feels like, I did a live stream where I grabbed as many different writing tools that I knew of and just used them all for a little bit, and then did a live stream where we sort of ranked these things, right? And it was a lot of fun. And I learned about some cool new tools that I can now recommend to other people. We did a whole tier list of which one was the best. The top of the tier list, what we had was S tier, had Scrivener. I think it also had, I think Reedsy Studio might have been A, if I had to guess. Maybe it was probably A. I think Pro Writing Aid was A, but I chose one tool out of that entire thing that I said, like, this was the de facto, everyone should have this. And it was a toss up between choosing from Google Docs, because it's just so easy and accessible, anyone can do it, or Scrivener for the $60 lifetime fee, but you have this incredible piece of software. I chose Google Docs. I think about sometimes I should have just gone with the Scrivener, but this is where we've landed. After I did all that, I started thinking, you know, it is kind of a missed opportunity for me, because I was comparing some things that are paid to some things that were free. And these are just different kinds of tools. So, hold on, give me one. Let me get this. Make sure I'm seeing your chat here. Today we're going to look at specifically some free tools. Also, Joe Dad Joke says you need extra screen space. You are right. I've set everything up. I think we're going to be all good. I came here because I was curious about your Apple opinions. I can no longer give Apple opinions. I have said everything that needs to be said and more. More than likely. All right, so let me tell you about the tools we're looking at today and some of the exciting things that we've uncovered some cool new tools, some things that are just falling short of where they need to be, and then one last minute hidden gem that I stumbled upon that I think is going to be pretty sick. All but one of these tools I have used before in preparation for this stream, but I did save one that we could explore together on the stream, and I thought that was a good idea. So you can kind of see what my process is when I'm judging these kind of tools, whether or not they're going to be useful for you. Let's zoom in a bit here. Boink. So a lot of these tools came from the last writing tool video that we did, but some of them I have known for a while. Some of them I decided, you know what, let's break out of all these recommendations from these videos. Let's just Google best free writing tools and see what comes up. These are all tools that are either 100% free or have a very generous free tier, and there's really only a paid option if you want to choose to support the developer. That's kind of the idea here. I'm not who's calling me potatoes? I fixed the font size. I zoomed in. Get your glasses. Get your dang glasses. Joe Dadjoke says, I'm also using Google Docs. I tried Ellipsis for a bit, but it was missing too many features and glitched too much on Chrome with book size docs. I've been playing around with Ellipsis. I think it's kind of an interesting tool. I originally had it on the list to talk about on this video before I really settled on the idea of free tools, because Ellipsis has a lot of paid features. But here's the deal. Ellipsis, pretty generous. They're like rent to own. You pay a subscription, but after you've paid X amount, you just own it for life. That's pretty sick. I'd like to see that kind of thing more. But today, let's talk about the tools that we're looking for. I mainly was looking for something that was a fully featured writing tool. Okay? Things like Google Docs, things like, what are some other tools that we looked at last time? Obsidian are really fantastic tools, but are not necessarily created to help a author write a novel. They're just not. They lack some of the features that you need. They're really good at some things, but maybe not at working with these long form, bigger documents for any number of reasons. So for this video, I was really looking for video or a software that hit that criteria. And the first one we're looking at came up so much in the YouTube comments of this last video. I had to download it again because I have looked at this one before, and I have some strong opinions. Has anyone here heard of YWriter before? YWriter. Anyone here heard of YWriter? It's probably older than some people in the chat right now. YWriter is over 20 years old. It's been around for a long time. It is Windows only, or I say Windows only. It is Windows and Linux. It is not available for the Mac, but since sometimes I cover Mac exclusive software because I'm live streaming on a Mac, I thought it was only fair to hop on my Windows computer, record myself using it so that we could talk about it here and give it its fair shot. YWriter brings out a very distant old memory for me, because in the early days of trying to figure out how to write a book back when I was in like high school, I was searching for like what software you're supposed to use, and YWriter came up as one of the free options that were out there. And I told you, it's 20 something years old. It looks 20 something years old. So let me open it up here so at least we have something to look at, and we'll talk about it. This is YWriter. So this is the recorded video of me using it for the first time. If it looks tiny on the screen, that's because it looked tiny on my dang 4K monitor, and I was squinting trying to see what it wanted me to fill out. I'll try to zoom in a bit once there's actually something worthwhile on the screen. But here's the deal. YWriter is software designed by an author 20 years ago. And I say that very specifically because One, it has the very specific design trends of software from 20 years ago, but also it's lacking some of the polish. Here's the deal. YWriter has left me baffled. I'm clicking through here. I'm trying to set up an initial story and try to learn. Ignore my Steam page. It opened up another window and I was like, whoa. When you're using YWriter, you have tabs for if you're creating scenes, if you're creating characters, if you're creating locations, items. This is something that we're very used to. And I don't know if this was new 20 years ago and YWriter was on the cusp of greatness for separating things out into different tabs and giving you things here. But right off the bat, I want to stop it and talk about your main sort of interaction. Oops. Your main sort of interaction here. What the heck? Give me back to my video. All right. What you're seeing here is how you add a new chapter and a new scene. And it took me about 5 or 10 minutes to figure out exactly what I was putting in here. In the top field of this little tiny box is where all of the content of your chapter goes. That is, everything that will eventually be in your book is broken up into chapters and scenes, and you put it into this tiny little text field. There's another text field on here though. This text field is for the description of your scene or your chapter, so you can click on it and very easily see a description of what this chapter is supposed to accomplish. I love the idea. I hate the execution. I hate the execution. I'll skip on a little bit ahead so that you can see me clicking around here. We have things like trying to figure out exactly how this is supposed to work. Dude, how am I supposed to type my whole story in this little thing? It's also for every scene that you have, you can add specific characters, so you can see what characters are present in one scene, specific locations or items. You can make notes. There's even specific timeline features, which I think it's not great. It's not great. So this was almost an immediate deal breaker. Helljumper, hello. This was almost an immediate deal breaker because I feel like a writing tool needs to have a top tier, top class writing experience, because you might be in here for 100 hours. And I do not feel that way about YWriter. Now, interestingly though, one of the benefits of having 20 years to develop your product is that you usually end up with lots of little features that are just kind of small quality of life things hidden around. You have things like timers, you have all kinds of little things that are present in YWriter, but it doesn't really feel like one big cohesive package. And the fact that this is the expected writing journey is pretty rough. Now, maybe you're saying, I'm gonna write somewhere else and I'm gonna paste it in here. You could do that. I did that. I don't think that's necessarily the recommended way to do it. Here, let me show you. Let me show you another video I took of the biggest question I have, which is how do you read back what you wrote? It's a pretty good question. How exactly do you read back what you wrote? Because this kind of frustrated me. In YWriter, and maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I missed it in whatever documentation I was able to try to find and look at. As far as I could tell, there is no way to just read your story back. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. There's no way to read your story back. The only thing you can do is click on each one of your scenes and view the context down here at the bottom. And that is a 100% deal breaker. 100%. So YWriter, I tried it. I was disappointed. I see how it was a really good thing to have for free 20 years ago, but maybe not maybe not exactly what we need nowadays. The ideal app, I never have to reread the slop that I write. Ain't that the truth? I put words down once and I never look at them again. Spartan, hello. State Flower, hello, welcome. I don't know if I've seen your name around. Welcome to the live stream. So all in all, with YRider, I'm surprised to see its name continually pop up in modern discussions about writing tools. It is a relic of the past, and even for free, there are much more easy to use, fully featured, modern alternatives to writing software. So in my opinion, YRider, a piece of history, but it is history. Has anyone here used YRider? It just leaves you asking, oh, why? I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't be that rude to it. I think it is a good piece of writing software, but it is just a little too dated for what we're trying to do. And I'm not even ranking that in comparison to like a Scrivener. I'm just saying it's a little bit older. And that brings us to another tool that I'm interested for us to check out, called Bibisco. Has anyone here heard of Bibisco? I've heard of Bibisco for years. In fact, I tried this out back in, I'd probably guess 2014 maybe? Long time ago, way before I had Scrivener. But Bibisco comes up in conversation about fully featured writing tools like Scrivener. And you know what? Bibisco is even better because it works on Linux. It has a Linux version, and that's kind of one of the, usually when people tell me about Bibisco, that's one of the things they're about to tell me about. But it works on Linux. I don't care about that. I don't use Linux, but I did want to showcase because I also thought this was only on Linux and Windows like YRider, but they do have a Mac release. And so I got the Mac release and I'd love to show it to you. Let's pull up Bibisco. Bibisco. This is going to be another tool that's trying to occupy the Scrivener space. I'm gonna say the Scrivener space because Scrivener is like the de facto writing tool that a lot of people are using. A lot of these things have been around just as long as Scrivener, but they're occupying that free space. So let's go in here. I'll create a new project. Call this Tiny Doors 2 because I already have one called Tiny Doors. This is your novel. Don't you love that? This is your novel. All right, so here's the thing about Bibisco. In the past, as far as I've known Bibisco, it has been a free tool, but they have recently added a lot of new features, and now they have a supporter purchase tier. So there are some things in here that are locked behind the paywall, which is a little disappointing, but I totally get it. Eventually you got to make money with your software. Let me show you how Bibisco works. We're going to start up here on the architecture, where we can create storylines, establish the premise of our novel. I've never heard this word before, the fabula. Has anyone ever heard fabula in regards to storytelling? Am I crazy? Anyone more educated than me on story who's in here being like, oh yeah, fabula is like a normal thing that we all talk about? That word is wholly unfamiliar to me. I love that. Okay. So, I mean, they describe it, narration of the events sorted by their logical and chronological sequence. The list of events in your story, the setting, notes, each one of these you can hop in here and say, okay, I'm gonna give a 1-sentence premise. Devin Briggs searches for his mother renovates a ruined campground, falls in love, and discovers a magical world. I don't know. Toss that in there. That's kind of right. And I'll save that. And now we have the premise of our story. This is just sort of a thing to help you figure out your story. You can do that for the fabula. You can do that for the setting. Strangely, if you wanted to have notes for your story, that is a paywalled feature. Okay, not liking that already. Okay, let's move on. I do like this next thing. Storylines. This is a feature you will see in some other writing tools, but storylines allow you to go in here and say, I have one continuous plot line that goes through my entire story. Devin finds his mother. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to sort of talk about this, describe what it's about. I'm just going to put a yada yada for right now. Once you have your storylines, you can go through, and there's some places you can sort of keep track of what scenes that you're writing are impacting what storylines and moving them along. I like that idea. I'm interested in that. Let's say Devin renovates the campground. Satisfying part of the story. I could describe everything that's supposed to happen in that plot line. Devin fixes things up. Does fixes have an E? Yeah. I'm 80% sure it has an E there. All right, we'll see what that how those come back to play in a bit, because I thought this was kind of a neat feature. Angelin says it has a lot of paywall features. If that's what the heart outline means? It is what the heart outline means, which I also found surprising for something that I've always heard of as a free tool. Like I said, I kind of get it. You can go in here and you can create your main characters. We have Devin Briggs. I don't plan my characters out nearly that much, but with all these different aspects of these characters, if you want, you can click in here. And this is a new approach to planning characters. I think this is a thing that exists in other places, but it's not something I often am doing. You can either click down on free text down here and just write, Devin Briggs is a 25-year-old dude from Chicago who is going to find his mother in Goodview, Virginia. Pretty cool. All right, that's normal. We've always done that. But I could also click on interview and be asked a bunch of questions about my character. What's his first name? Devin. Now I can option, and the right arrow is telling me, hey, you don't have to do the interview, but I want to. What's his surname? Briggs. Does he have a nickname? If so, where does it come from? He doesn't really have one. He's a male, 25 years old, born in Chicago. I don't normally do this kind of stuff personally, but I'm gonna click through some of these. Do they own or rent? I don't ask those kinds of questions for my characters. All right, let's say we got all the information we want. Now it's gonna format all of my answers into this interview format. I haven't used a writing tool that does that. Interesting enough. If you like this sort of character sheet approach to characters, pretty neat, I guess. Now you can do this for a bunch of, don't tell me again, a bunch of different categories around your characters. Here we're in physical features. What's their hair like? What's their face like? Do they wear glasses? I don't know. That's an interesting way, I guess, if you like that sort of character defining stuff. To each their own. But like I said, you don't have to do the interview. You can just click free, type all your stuff out. You can do the same thing with locations. Now, I thought this was really weird. What is their neck like? You know what? I think that's just one of the great questions about, breaking the ice in a nice group setting. Hey. Oh. This feels like it's going to take a weird turn if I verbalize. What's your neck like? I feel like there may be some slang term I should be avoiding here. I thought this was weird. When you create a location, the first thing it asks is, what's the nation of your location? What's the motion of your ocean? United States. We'll say we're gonna create Goodview, Virginia. We need a name, we'll call it Goodview. And I now have a location. I think this is a really weird way to approach locations, because sometimes my locations are just like, you know, I might be writing fantasy or science fiction, and that's a really weird way to have to structure your locations. Whatever. Now we can say Goodview is in the Appalachian Mountains. Save. I have my location. I need to write more interviews with my characters with actual questions. What's your favorite kind of apple? Look, do we need to talk about apples again? There's one answer. It's the Honeycrisp apple is the #1 apple in the world. Highest rated apple you can find at most grocery stores in the US. Don't play around with other apples. Honeycrisp apples, just go there. There's not an analysis paralysis situation. The decision's being made for you. Eat the dang apple. Stop talking about apples. Thank you. All right. Joe says there's lots of RPG world building sites that have similar features, and they can be helpful for writing bigger fantasy worlds. I believe that. I also think that there's just different kinds of writers when it comes to characters. You know, clearly there's a big market for things like character sheets and planning your character in that way. This is very similar to that, you know, the character sheet approach. I don't know. And then the location prompting you for a nation, state, and city is very weird to me. Now, we're talking about planning here. Let's get to the actual writing. If you go into chapters here, you can create your first chapter. We're gonna say like home early. Once you're in your chapter, you can create multiple scenes. You can also, I like this, give what's the reason for this chapter in your story. This is the opening, introducing the readers to Devin. Love that. I think that's a great feature to have. We have a notes section, and then we also have our individual scenes. I'll call this one home early too. And here is where we actually write our story. What's going on with these apples to oranges in the comments? All apples give my face bad tingles. What? I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. How does apple compare to a mandarin orange? Mandarin orange is pretty good. Pretty good. The chat's gone. The chat's off. All right. For the writing experience in Bibisco. We talked about pronunciation here yet? Bibisco. This is where you're gonna do most of your writing. I don't love the interface. It's kind of not necessarily something I'm gonna spend a lot of time in. I wonder if there's some sort of focus mode. Oh, I do remember this now. This was something I really did not like. My friends, the second you start putting certain fonts behind your paywall, you lose me. If I wanted to write in Georgia, I need to have the supported version. I am so sorry. That's a bad move. That's a bad look. Not a good start here, Babisco. Not a good start. I guess I will use Helvetica because that's what I'm allowed to use. Got him. So I don't love this method of putting our story together with this interface. Like I said, you're gonna spend most of your writing time in the writing interface. To me, this makes me want to write somewhere else and then paste it in here, and that's really not the kind of writing tool I'm looking for. Rosewater says, I think Comic Sans should be the only free one. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. Angelin says, don't take all of my fonts. That is wrong and should be illegal. That and the fact that this is an application installed on my machine, and there doesn't seem, from what I've seen so far, to be an option to use your system fonts. I think it's kind of a bummer. I feel like that's one of the benefits of having something installed on my laptop, is I have access to other things on my laptop. So a tougher look there, Babisco. You've lost some people there. Otherwise, it gives you all the formatting tools you would need. Adding images is paywalled. Adding links is paywalled. That subscripts and superscripts are paywalled. Look, that's not like a huge deal to me. It just kind of looks a little sad, I think. So that's something. You can have multiple scenes, sharing them together really fast. Next we have the letter, where Devin finds an old letter from his mother he was never given. Devin pulled the letter from the suitcase. Now this is where, like I said, this is where I would type my actual story and everything. Now I have one chapter. I would add another chapter and keep going. It's not my favorite. Down in the bottom right, you'll notice that epilogues, prologues, and parts to your story are also paywalled, and I think that is kind of a bummer, which is sad because I think Babisco has some cool things. For example, in the paywalled section, you have these mind maps, and I think that these can be really neat. I can create a mind map for character relationships. And I've already played around with this, so I'm a pro, no big deal. I can double click here and I can say, you know what? I have another character named Becca Thornton. I can't remember what her name's supposed to be. And I can make her in this mind map. And this is kind of cool because I know her mother is Rachel Thornton. I'm just making stuff up. But I haven't actually made an entry into Babisco of this character yet. But if I tell it that I'm making a secondary character and I go and hit create and link, not only can I create Rachel Thornton right here in the mind map, but I've also just created them as a secondary character in Babisco. I like that. That's neat. And I like the fact that in my mind map with all my character relationships, I can also link people together. I can say that they are family. This is cool. But it's also this is not the only place you can find something like this. There are other tools out there. There are free tools, there are browser-based tools, but it's in here and it integrates with the rest of Babisco. I like that. Again, that is paywalled though. So as a free tool, which is what everyone talks about Babisco for, I think it is kind of close to greatness, but is still missing out on some pretty basic things. I think there was one other thing I wanted to point out here. If I can remember where it was. No, I can't. I thought there was a way to tag in your storylines here. For what it's worth, I'll point out one last thing. This is Babisco. I'll point out one last thing. It is also paywalled, but I thought it was kind of cool. It has an analysis feature, which can look at all of your information and tell you a lot of cool things about your story. For example, I think a lot of this is done through tags, if I remember. So if I go into this scene, I think I can add a tag and I can say this is objective. No, I want limited third person, told from Devin Briggs. Devin, and we have another character named Trent Briggs show up in this chapter. This is the start of this storyline. That was it with our tags. And as I populate tags throughout my story, I get this cool analytical stuff. How frequently is Trent gonna be in the story? It's kind of neat. I mean, it's just other analytic stuff. How much of my story is focused on this storyline versus other storylines? What chapters do we hit which storylines? These are kind of neat, I guess, but all in all, I think Babisco falls short of being a great free tool. There are some silly things they've chosen to lock behind the paywall that I would like to see sort of just part of the free version, like using specific fonts. I get things like the mind map being like a really cool selling point. And if that's going to lead to supporters for your product, go for that. I'm down for that. But things like being able to create unlimited notes, that's just text in a field. Let's just let people have notes. Keeping track of objects like you keep track of characters and locations. You don't need to put that behind a paywall, come on. That's all I gotta say about that. Bibisco, all in all, close to greatness, but falling quite short, in my opinion. In order to export your novel, you have to give them your firstborn child. From I did not say that. Yeah, all in all, I think one of the biggest shortcomings here is the writing experience. Any writing tool, the writing experience needs to be top notch, and we are still not seeing that here. So that is a Bibisco. What do you guys think of Bibisco? As I queue up the next one. Just confirm the fonts are paywalled. It's rough. I've seen better programs for free. I think that's a fair statement. I think it's a fair one. This next one's an interesting one. This next one's interesting because I've used this one before. I've used most of these before. I'm all about the writing tools. Guys, someone said in the chat in my last video being like, have you heard of LibreOffice? I'd be like, yeah, dude, I've heard of LibreOffice. Sorry. This next one was in the comments of the last one, and I think it sort of categorizes a specific kind of tool that's out there that writers can use, but I don't really think it's the tool you want. You know, I talked about Obsidian in the last video, and Obsidian is more of a tool for note-taking, or what's a good way to say it? It's a good tool for it being your second brain. That's what a lot of people sort of talk about Obsidian with. But the fact of the matter is, it's not really there for writing. We covered it because there were some plugins specifically about long form writing. But some of the people in the comments of the last video were like, you should check out another tool called Zettlr, is how I'm gonna pronounce it. Let me open up Zettlr for you. And we're gonna talk about a whole category of tools called markdown editors. Has anyone here heard of Zettlr? Other apps that are going to be similar to it, I think Ulysses is going to be similar to Zettlr. It's going to be similar to Obsidian. Kayla says, I got Obsidian a while back, and even with the plugins, it didn't quite make the cut for me. But it ended up becoming my main notes app. That's the thing is, with Obsidian in particular, and I think that there's another tool very similar to Obsidian that's just not crossing my mind right now. You have to like really work to make it there's a lot of setup to do, I guess is maybe one way to say it. And I could not get there. Goodbye, Zinder, goodbye. All right, Frey says that name is German. You are right, because we also work with Zettelkasten. Zettelkasten. I feel like, is it bad when I speak German? I feel like I gotta put some like oomph on it. Frey, am I saying that right? Oof, Zettelkasten. All right, let's talk about Zettlr. This came up in the comments, and the truth is, Zettlr is a cool, great piece of software. I'm a fan of Zettlr. I've used it in the past, but I would not use it for long form storytelling. Now here's the thing. It has the tools in here to write, period. It has we just talked about Bibisco, how important it was to have a really good writing experience. That's what Zettlr has. Let's create a new file here. And actually no, let's create a new folder. We're gonna call this our Tiny Doors story. In Tiny Doors, I'm gonna create another directory. It's gonna be my chapters. Go ahead and expand that. Let's create characters. You can see what we gotta do in here to make it have all the things that we need to have it to have. Locations. And honestly, you may not even decide that you need to have your characters written down or locations. But I think you definitely need to have your chapters, and you definitely need to have probably some notes. Now, what makes this different than just writing in Google Docs? One, it is going to be way faster. Let's go in here and create a chapter 1. The writing experience here is nice, right? So I can go in here and say, Devin slammed the door in anger. The windows of his car rattling back. I don't know. You could just go in here and you could write, and things are gonna look good. It's got a good experience. He was taking out his anger on one of the few things he owned, and he knew it was a mistake. But in the throes of anger, you make no mistakes. Don't take this as showcasing my writing ability. This is a Markdown previewer, so really most of the ease of use comes with writing in Markdown. So doing things like writing your headers and having sections and being able to do block quotes. Here is and this is why it's a great note-taking app. But you don't do this kind of formatting for writing longer stories. There's one other thing worth pointing out here, and it has to do with this YAML formatting at the top. The top of all your documents and a lot of apps like this, you can create tags and metadata to associate with this specific file, and Zettler is going to do what it needs to do to parse this kind of stuff out. There's definitely reason that you could use the YAML here to organize your story and to do some really interesting things. But all in all, Markdown editors are just not great for writing bigger stories where you might have 50 chapters, and those 50 chapters might have 2 to 3 scenes a piece, and maybe you want to keep track of your characters. And then there's this whole idea of, do I want some sort of analytical reporting on my story that helps me in some way? I want to link documents together. You can definitely link documents together in here with our typical sort of Obsidian. I don't know if there's another term for this kind of formatting. Linking stuff together. What would this be good for? This would be great for writing short stories. This would be great for writing your own book reviews. This would be great for diarying, journaling. It's just not the kind of tool that is going to help facilitate you writing long form books. There was someone in my last video who's like, I use NeoVim. If you are the kind of person who is writing long form stuff in NeoVim, you'll probably have a blast writing long form stuff in some kind of Markdown editor. But for the rest of us, we have other tools that are a little bit more geared towards novel writing. Okay, this says, I never got the hang of Markdown. It's worth getting the hang of. There's a lot of tools that use Markdown now, and it does make writing really fast whenever you need to take notes. But like I said, you don't use a lot of Markdown in creative writing. So Zettler came up before. That's kind of all I have to say for Markdown editors. Obsidian is still kind of the king of the hill when it comes to those kind of tools. Zettler is cool. Doesn't really bring as much, I think, as we want. That's it for Zettler. All right. Having to manually type in formatting codes quickly becomes a pain in Markdown. It can be. You know, one of the things that Markdown editors are well known for, though, is giving you a ton of keyboard shortcuts. Now, you're probably already using those keyboard shortcuts for bolding things anyways. Command B, Control B, same sort of thing. But yeah. I think it's time for us to look at a really cool writing tool that we can discover together, because we're now at the point where we're looking at a new tool to me as well. And the reason that we're doing it, did I talk about RaptorWrite? I have not talked about RaptorWrite, and I don't have that one queued up. Never heard of Raptor Right. What we are going to talk about is manuscript. This is another one that comes up a lot in the same conversation as YWriter, sort of an open source tool to use. I was going to talk about this one. I was excited to talk about it, but some of you see it already. Virus detected. I'm pretty tech savvy, and so I feel pretty confident of I can go download things from websites and not feel too worried that I'm gonna have some Trojan on my machine. But Manuscript was the only tool in all of this that I could not get it to work because of the security on my computer. And normally I would just bypass all this stuff, turn off firewall, tell Windows security, whatever, to back down. I was jumping through so many hoops to get this thing installed on my machine. I eventually was like, you know what? Maybe this is a sign. I don't think it's nefarious. I'm fairly certain there's no actual virus on there, but the amount of effort I was going through to turn off all of those things to install this thing, I eventually just caught it. So Manuscript, I'm sorry, I wanted to talk about Manuscript. I wanted to show it to the world. It just wasn't worth it for me, sadly. Which means, though, we get to look at something brand new that I've never heard of, that only came up when I started Googling for writing tools. And I figured we would check it out together so you can kind of see how I go through testing tools like this to see whether or not I'm worth listening to, I guess. Let's check out LoreForge. I think this is going to be a cool one. This is another application that you download and install on your machine, so it's local and it runs locally. Right off the bat, I created a brand new project already just to make sure I could launch this. LoreForge, or Lorge, if you will. You know, one of the best things about not having chat on the screen is I can take your jokes and just say them, and in the YouTube video, people will be like, wow, this guy's hilarious. What a wide and varied sense of humor he has. So there you go, just another Carson original. Sometimes we call this tool Lorge. You heard it here first. All right, let's check out LoreForge. I don't know anything about this, but what I like to do is to set up one of the stories that I want to write in this tool, just to sort of touch every part of the planning and the drafting stage. So I've created tiny doors, and I'm seeing that we have stories here, which makes me think that we can have multiple stories set in the same universe with this tool. I'm just going to use Tiny Doors by Carson Long and forge that bad boy. Ah, no, it seems like stories was actually a chapter? Okay, no, we are in the Tiny Doors story. We have chapters, summaries, plot, and notes. Okay. That's truly a back button. Okay. Let's add some characters. I bet they're going to be referenced in there. We got Devin Briggs. He's a main character. Okay. Holy moly. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we got a bunch of tags. Bunch of freeform stuff, and then some hard-coded stuff. I personally don't love having a ton of stuff to fill out about my characters. I don't use 90% of these hard-coded things in here. I couldn't tell you in Upon Careless Gray Hills, my last book that I published, what the middle names of my characters were. Couldn't tell you. So a lot of these things, species, okay, leader of certain cultures or organizations, member of cultures, organizations. I like that we can add our own attributes, and we'll see where tags go eventually. Perspectives, what in the world? All right, let's fill out. Devin lost his mother. young age to overcome that. Cool. Motivations. Devin is looking for purpose and answers to his trauma. You guys are going to learn so much about my story watching me type these in. Negative traits. He is willing to lie to avoid conflict. Some of us lie to make conflict. Shout out. I'm interested in what this perspectives option is. We could create a note. His appearance, affiliation. This is about all I would plan. There's no save button, so I would just assume everything's done. I could create another character real fast. I like that. Becca Thornton. Another major character. Okay. Let's create some other characters. We got Trent Briggs, the dad. He is a minor character. Okay. We have Savannah Briggs, the mother. Say she's a major character, but not a main character. Okay. What are we going to do with all these characters? Aesthetically, I like this. I think this is a cool looking tool. Lore Forge. My goal is to hold a frog. And you know what, Rosewater? I never doubted you for a second. I believe in you and your frog holding ability. Don't let anything get between you, those little froggies. Kaylee says, in my opinion, Scrivener is visually one of the least appealing writing software packages. It's also the best for function. They have theming abilities. I think Rosewater said that down there. They have themes. Even the themes don't necessarily come out looking great. Yeah, I think it's fair to say Scrivener's form over function. Wait, function over form? Which one's the aesthetic one? It doesn't look great, but it's so good at what it does. And it looks better on Mac in my opinion, but even then it doesn't look great. All right, we got some locations here. Let's throw down a Good View, Virginia. This is gonna be a town. I know I'm not using the tags how they need to be. So far I'm digging. So far I'm digging Lore Forge. We'll add another, we'll call this one Paradise Acres, I think is what I call it. Campground. So right now it's really just feeling not unlike any other writing tools that we typically use. I like the population, I'll do that. Is within Good View, Virginia. I'm down for that. Feels pretty standard. Discoveries, relations, items, images. And then it looks like that's kind of all we got when it comes to setting up things for our world. And then now I bet within a specific scene, I'll be able to do something with those characters. If this is it though, then I am feeling like I'm left with a little like wanting something more. I like all the customization here, very cool. Always like to see Open Dyslexic added. Booker Lee is the Amazon Kindle font. It's a very good font. Test, all right, I love it. I am now kind of wanting something different visually though. I gotta say the create next scene, create a new scene. Interesting. The contrast on this is not great. It is not the easiest to read. It's not, I don't know if it's coming through on here. It's not necessarily a white font. It's kind of a grayish font. That's not, you know, kind of not great. Let's see what's in settings here. Pro license key. Interesting. I didn't see much about that on the website. What can we export to? Chapter format. DocX, okay. You know, I gotta say, for all of the stuff that we were doing in the world of Tiny Doors here, kind of left feeling like it's not really utilized in the actual story. I'm not seeing where these things are really connecting. Cool that I was able to create a Devin Briggs character sheet. Literally every writing tool can do that. Also, what's this toggle do? Oh, okay, I see. But all in all, these feel like two disconnected things. And that's kind of a bummer. If this is all that I'm seeing with this story, then I don't know if this is... I think I would prefer a different tool. Revision 1. Find and replace. Show summaries of the chapters and scenes. Nice. Bookmark it. Edit the metadata. Okay, here's where we go in here. So Devin shows up here. Trent shows up here. They're in good view. We didn't create a plot. Oh, it's over here. Okay, I see. All right. Hey, you know what? Here's something kind of neat. Angelin says the pro licensing fee is $6 a month. Early access to fixes, mobile support. You know, $6 a month is very reasonable. If this is the tool that you find and you're like, hey, this matches how I think of my stories. Don't hate that. We got a lot of plot formats here. Kind of like this. So once we have that, now we can go back into our chapter and our scene and go into the metadata. That's where we saw all of this. I wouldn't have looked here first, but I'm hoping that doing something in... Where's all my plot beats, bruh? Hope this does something to the character sheet of Devin now that we've done that. Because if not, okay, there's something. He appears in this story one time. And he's in these scenes. I don't know. You know what? Let me do this. To give it a fair shot, I'm going to open up my Scrivener where I actually have my first couple chapters of this story. And I'm going to paste it in there and we can really work with something to populate that, you know? This is basically what I do for all the things I test. Okay. Here is 5,000 words, so that's roughly the first-ish chapter, first 2 chapters maybe. All right, get me into scene 1. Boink. So now we got 5,000 words. Devin and Trent are both in this chapter. We got some chapter sections here. Is that gonna change anything with what we see related to Devin Briggs? Okay, so it's really just telling us he was narrated one chapter in this story and appears one time in the story, and of course that's going to grow as we write. That doesn't really feel that useful. I can tell that he's in this scene, and I can say introduction to Devin. Devin has lost his job and discovers the letter his mother left him. And I see the purpose of this, and I see how it could be useful. I'm just not seeing a good connection between this tool and the story that you're writing. I'd like to see something a little bit more integrated if you're gonna have multiple stories and like one universal set of characters and locations, and you can dip in. I think that's a cool thing. I want that in a writing tool myself. They just still don't really feel connected in many ways. So that's how I'm feeling about this one right now. Aesthetically, I dig it. Aesthetically, very neat. I don't see a place where I can change the theme. That would be kind of nice, I think. Even to go from dark mode to light mode. Can you have multiple windows of this up? I'd have the characters and all the information in one or writing in the other. That's a great question, Angelin. It is not, nothing is looking like I can easily pop this out or split my view. All right. Prophetic, what the heck? Automatically open the last used project. First off, very basic feature. Open the last project that you were working on. Sick name for the feature. Do you want to turn on prophecy for your tool? Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, please. All right. I think I feel like I've seen enough of this tool to know what it's going for. And I think it's interesting. I just don't think it's interesting enough. That being said, for a free tool, I think that there are people here who would download this and connect with it and be like, hey, this is great. And it's a great thing for a free tool. I probably wouldn't pay money yet if this is all that we're doing so far. I'd like to see a little bit more functionality in creating sort of a robust wiki, or I think some tools might call it a codex. I think we're going to look at another tool like that. And my story, and really make them feel more connected in different ways. And like Angelin said, I typically like to have information about my characters or my plot up in some side window, and not easily able to see how to even do that here, or if you can even do it. So Lore Forge, I think it's got a lot more room to grow before I would recommend it. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Lore Forge, on Lorge, as I've coined the term I've coined by myself? I wonder if it would be more useful for people writing high fantasy or soap opera, something that requires following politics and cultures and species. I don't know if anyone noticed, there is a whole species category there. That does feel like it is very kind of like narrowly selecting the genre that it wants to appeal to. Google says you cannot open multiple instances of Lorge for the same project. Okay, well, you know what? That just means I didn't miss anything. Spartan says seems pretty cool. Check it out. That's one of the best parts about at least us talking about free tools, is if it seems interesting to you, ain't nothing stopping you from trying it. Oh, let me read this comment from Rosewater here. Rosewater says, that's a really hilarious joke. How do you come up with these things? LOL. Thank you, Rosewater. Thank you. Again, sorry we can't have the chat on the screen this time around. But you know, these things happen. Let's move on to the next one. Kayla says, so far everything I've seen looks like it's helpful if you can't come up with fields to fill out when world building, but you aren't a field filling world builder. Man, that's a tongue twister. May not be the one for you. Yeah. This next one I think is kind of a silly one to show, but there were lots of people in the comments talking about, hey, how come, really sad you didn't mention LibreOffice. So you better believe I downloaded LibreOffice. Me and LibreOffice go way back. We go way back. I know that there's people here who have experience with LibreOffice. Libre, my beloved. 100% agree. Spartan is outing my plan, telling me why my plan's gonna be ruined. Let me live my life. LibreOffice, if you have not heard of LibreOffice, I would love to be the one to tell you about it. Hold on, we need the full screen for this. You do not need to be shackled by Microsoft for a nice, high quality word processor. You do not need to give yourself to the Leviathan, to the behemoth, to fork over money, your social security number, activation codes, email, personal information. You don't need to do it. So don't do it. I know Microsoft Word and pretty much all of Office is the industry standard. It's been around for so long. They are the Goliath. But you don't have to follow their rules. You can use LibreOffice, the completely free and open and available version, so that you can have access to Word, to PowerPoint, to Excel. What else do they have? Draw? Is there like a draw one? Isn't LibreOffice a modified version of OpenOffice? Probably. I always forget which one came first, LibreOffice or OpenOffice. You got alternatives. Even if you're like LibreOffice, those what would be a good word here? Those monsters just ripping off Microsoft. If that's your view, I don't know where I'm going with this. Yes, there is also OpenOffice. LibreOffice is the one I have the most experience with. Let me open it up here so you can see. When you launch LibreOffice, you can choose to launch their PowerPoint alternative, their Excel alternative. Of course, for us, the Word alternative is the best, the thing I'll be spending most of my time on. Everything that you know about Microsoft Office basically translates here. If you grew up, honestly, here's the thing. If I could just get a free version of Microsoft Word 2003 or 2007, I'd be happy. Honestly, I don't think there has been a better writing experience than either of those two versions of Microsoft. It's just not happening anymore. I don't want to log on to Microsoft 365 or whatever. I think that's what I had to use back in college. And I definitely don't want to pay yearly to use it. Sad. All right, I'm just going to take you very briefly through this because this is super easy. If you've ever used Microsoft Word, if you've used Google Docs, you kind of know what to expect here. This is, I think I can even just paste what I had in here. This is your typical word processor. And it's got everything you need. Google Docs forever. Never heard of LibreOffice? Oh, Jacob. Welcome. Never heard of LibreOffice? Let me tell you. Now, this is something that you're probably going to want to use with things like templates. I haven't done too much research on the template side of things, but what you see is what you get, right? What I'm writing in here is what it's going to look like when I export it. It's not doing a ton of formatting for me. It's what you see is what you get. WYSIWYG, baby. Anyone here familiar with that term? Got any web developers in the old days who were yearning for a way to see their HTML before it compiled? Anyone who was yearning for hot refreshes? Deborah says, I'm trying to switch to Mac's pages, numbers, etc. It's hard getting away from Office 365. Never use LibreOffice. I think what you would find, and this is, Deborah, you may be more sort of experienced with the Apple products than I am. I've dabbled with Pages, I've dabbled with the other Apple alternatives, and I think what they work really well at is being so natural to using them on the iPad or using them on the laptop. If you grew up using Windows, and that's what you're used to with the interface for Microsoft Office, LibreOffice has it down to a T. It's basically the exact same thing. So if you're looking for that, you're not going to do much better than LibreOffice. Maybe OpenOffice, like we said in the chat, is worth checking out. But yeah. Chapter 1. Boink, boink. Boom, there you go. Now, this is one of the reasons I don't necessarily write in tools like this. I like the idea of being able to write in pretty plain text and then to compile it into a more finalized, higher quality version that needs to look how it needs to look. That's why one of the reasons why I write in Scrivener. But one thing I like about this is, if I remember correctly, I'm going back to my days here, we can go in and probably change the size of our paper. I think that would be good. Where would that be? Dude, this song is so good. Page style, maybe? Aha! You're not often printing your story out in 8.5 by 11 paper. You're probably doing like, I can't remember the 6.5 by 8.5. Can't remember what I chose for my last book. But doing this, you kind of get to see exactly how far your story is going when it's going to be printed. Not every tool has that feature. This is a very clear way that you can use a Word style document and change the margins and have everything look how it's going to look in your final story. I like having that ability. Neat. I got 7 chapters of a rewrite done in Google Docs and it's lagging already. Angelin, I've heard that. I've never even gotten that far in a Google Docs story to then encounter those issues, but that is what I do commonly hear. And I know we have some people who are writing 100, 200, 300,000 word stories. Google Docs just can't keep up. And I honestly, maybe most web-based writing tools that are having everything like in one doc, I feel like they're always gonna struggle. There was a tool that I used in the past called NovelPad, and they had a really cool way of sort of breaking up your story while you were viewing the whole thing, so you didn't have this lagging happen. It felt like you were scrolling through your entire story, but behind the scenes, they were loading and unloading different things at the same time. And that was pretty cool. I bet, if I had to speculate, this is probably once this whole book is into this doc. And you wouldn't always do that. Sometimes you may choose to break up your chapters into different files. I don't like that, because then now I'm trying to remember what happened in what chapter this thing happened. Now I'm opening multiple files trying to hunt it down. That's kind of a pain. But I think most people would probably do that. Chapter 2 is a whole new doc. Chapter 3 is a whole new doc. I imagine that's what people in Google Docs are doing as well. But you know what? I gotta say, of all the tools we've looked at today so far, this is one of the better writing experiences. I feel good writing in LibreOffice. And then, of course, you have all the different tools that you would normally have. Yes, for formatting, but also pretty advanced, paragraph and character formatting, pretty advanced tools for finding and replacing and searching for things. I guess the big thing here is, let's leave a comment. Are we able to do that? Comment. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's a pretty bad looking comment, but good thing we can hide it away. Let's throw in another one. Boom. What the heck? This doesn't sound like Devin. It moved us. Where is this pointed at? Interesting. Okay, I like that we have comments. Can we resolve the comments? Reply, resolve thread, delete, love it. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I feel pretty confident. In saying this. There's not a collaboration tool here, right? This is not that kind of thing. Like, no one can open this thing up on their LibreOffice and you have live comments. But you could save this, send it over to someone else. They can open it. They could view the comments there, of course. But it's definitely not a live collaborative thing. But I love seeing comments. Love having them. Love collapsing them. I think this looks like a fine tool, and LibreOffice is probably one of those things that's always good to have installed on your machine just in case. You know, Microsoft Word is still so ubiquitous in the space of just like word processors and writing things. Even though I would do most of my DocX kind of things on Google Docs, I do like to have something like this installed on my machine for things that feel more serious, you know? I don't necessarily want to open up like my home's mortgage agreement on Google Docs. Maybe I want to do that on something here. It looks it's going to be formatted more like how the person did it when they did it in Microsoft Word and then exported it. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out. All that being said, I love LibreOffice. I think this is like an S tier tool. I still don't think it is the premier tool for writers though. I think if you are still writing in things like Microsoft Word or LibreOffice like this, you are likely having a great experience, but you are also likely missing out on some quality of life features that can come with tools designed for novel writing. Things like being able to quickly see character information or reference back another chapter while you're working on this and have that other thing on this quick view sort of thing. There's a lot of things that these tools aren't, you know, perfectly made for that we kind of need as writers. Gotta love LibreOffice though. 10 out of 10, love LibreOffice. 10 out of 10 for most people, probably like 8.5 out of 10 for writers. Better than Word. The next one we're looking at is kind of funny to me. And it's one of these things, surprisingly, I think we're gonna have a lot of people in the chat who know or have tried this tool out. Has anyone here heard of Focuswriter? I got to tell you, it's been around for a while, just like some of these other tools. I remember downloading Focuswriter in high school. I think the years blur together when you get as old as me, but I think that's when I downloaded it. Hey boss, hope you're doing well. Solitude, hope you're doing well too, boss. Thanks for popping in. Anyone here heard of Focuswriter? Here's the great thing about Focuswriter. Let me open it up. Have you ever had a tool that does one thing and one thing only? Oh God, now we gotta, here we go. Focuswriter is the product of someone who says, I have one very specific problem and I need to fix it. Focuswriter is about helping you focus, wait for it, while you write. What does it do? It goes full screen and gives you a text box. And you go in here and you write your story. I just pasted in my first couple chapters. Now you might be saying, okay, well, what else does it do? And I think that's a pretty good question. Not really, it doesn't really do anything else. In fact, everything else is kind of hidden until you go up here and you unlock the secret little menus around here. You can open up, I guess, like, I'm still not even quite sure about this. Maybe you can have different sections in the same doc. Maybe this is like a heading thing. Am I gonna see that over here? Okay, there we go. So you have a little bit of an organizer. All those people who were like, hey, I want some aesthetic writing tool. It's important to me how it looks. Well, maybe you'll love Focusrite then. It has a bunch of built-in themes. I made a custom one, but the built-in ones are all to make it look nice, right? Ooh, you want to write in this thunderstorm. Aesthetically awesome, right? About some gentle blues. Go old school. It's got a bunch of really cool themes. This is the one I used to use. That thing is so lame. There's so many better ones. For this, I made my own one, and it was super easy. When you're making a theme, you go in here, you give it a name. What color do you want your text to be? What font size? What picture do you want? How should your background be? How should it look with paragraph spacing and margins? You're done. So I think that is kind of nice. I think that's kind of nice. You know what? Good question. What else does it do? It keeps track of how many words you've written. You can set goals. You can open up multiple docs down here and switch between them. And I believe there is also a timer. There it is. I can set a timer. Let's set a 1 minute timer here. All right. And now I'm writing to a timer. That is the full extent of Focusrite. If you physically cannot keep yourself focused, or honestly, more realistically, if you just like the look of this because it is pretty nice, this is all Focusrite does on purpose. Its whole goal is to just give you a distraction-free writing experience. For instance, we should all use this for Novella November. There's something to be said. Like I do get it. It's just not enough for me. But I do get this. I want to put. There we go. I guess depending on your image. Rosewater says my ADHD addled brain might benefit from this, and that's honestly why it exists. Oh, our alarm went off. Just so you know, it did not play a noise. It didn't do anything. It just popped up here. But you have alarms built in. This one's a really easy one to talk about though, because that, like I said, that is the full extent of this. I kind of like it. Like they really nailed down the aesthetic. And normally you're supposed to be running this in like full screen mode, so even that top bar is gone. It's kind of nice. And Kaylee says what I think most people would agree with. While I have my struggles with focus, I need to be able to refer back to my outline 100%. And I haven't easily seen anything about like opening up two docs. We could try that out real fast. Do I need to go file, new? All right, this is another story. Could I? No. It would be cool if I could drag this over to the side and open that as well, but no. It looks like you could pretty easily switch between these. You're viewing one at a time. All that being said though, I don't know what it is. They just like truly nailed the aesthetic. It's a damn good looking app. I don't know if it comes through on screen or on the stream. It feels good to write in. I think this could be really neat for like a short story or something like that. But it's just, yeah, it's not necessarily going to be a really good long form writing tool. But I just think there is a person out there who would love this. And for a free tool, that's pretty nice. So if this is the kind of vibe you're looking for, Focusrite is pretty awesome. It's a nifty little app, but it's not going to be my new writing tool. Who else out there would benefit from Focusrite? Because a lot of tools have these distraction-free modes, you know? And that just kind of takes it to the next level. That's like its whole deal, right? I was able to customize my Scrivener theme so I can see an image relating to my story while I write. That's really cool. And I think that's the benefit of customize. Here's the thing, before the Discord, I never really cared so much aesthetically about like Scrivener or any tool that I was writing in. But you guys opened my eyes to how nice it can be to be able to personalize something for exactly those reasons. So now I'm like super pro customization, personalization, all that stuff. I can see myself writing blocks of scenes and copy pasting them into Scrivener. You know what? And also, hear me out. What if you used Focusrite for editing? It's kind of a nice reading experience. Gets you in that tranquil sort of place. You could put a cool image in the background. It is very readable. I don't know if that came through on the stream. Very readable, easy to, you know, the text looks good. Could be good for editing, because that's honestly, when I'm writing, I like to have like an outline or a character sheet or something up. But when I'm editing, I'm really just reading and changing and marking things. So something to be said there. I kind of wish, it feels like it would be so easy to take that sort of distraction-free writing and to put that onto your favorite tool. I feel like it should be able to plug into other things. So like, imagine if you hit focus mode in Scrivener and it opened that up. No, because then I still like to reference things. I was gonna say you open that up, type, hit enter or whatever, and then you go back to your normal mode and everything. I think it's cool, but I think I need my outline and stuff to reference. Kaylee says, I think visually my favorite is Ellipsis, but unfortunately lacks some functions come to rely on. Ellipsis is interesting. I don't know if you were here, Kaylee, because I was going to look at that tool for this video before I decided to really only focus on free tools. And I liked Ellipsis. I thought it was really neat. I thought it was doing a lot of cool things. That being said, it's not a free tool. They have a pretty generous free tier, but of course you get a lot of extra things when you pay for it. And I was like, you know what? When it comes to writing tools, maybe I need to get away from like, here's what everyone's saying. Check out Ellipsis. What about Obsidian? Have you tried LibreOffice? And I was like, you know what? Let me get out of this space. Let me just go to the App Store for my Mac and just search writing tool and see what completely free option pops up. And maybe there's a hidden gem in there. And everyone, I think I found a hidden gem. I'm 100% serious. I found something called, I think it's supposed to be pronounced Novelist, which is very confusing because, which is very confusing. Hold on. I'm getting there. I think in the last video, we looked at a tool called Novelist, but I stumbled across something for differentiating purposes, I'm going to call it Novelist. And I think it might be kind of awesome. Hear me out. I'm gonna launch it up here. I got this off the App Store and installed locally on my machine so it can run offline. Check this out. Hold on. Okay, here we go. This is Novelist. And I think you need to know about it. This doesn't have a ton of reviews on the App Store, but it's got a ton of features. It is completely free. It runs completely offline. A lot of quality of life features and some things I've never seen on other writing tools. Let me tell you how it works. All right. There are downsides to this. I'll tell you about them as we look over this. By the way, my computer's all on like the dark theme, so that's why we're seeing the dark mode here. Nova List, I'll have to call it, has a good writing experience. Now, I think the screen's a little cluttered, but here's me writing into this chapter. I pasted it in for my other story. I love that. I can keep going on and continue writing. This is still in the same chapter. I think maybe it's not. Continue writing my story. Yada, yada, yada. I can click on here and I can view. Let's get to it. I can view. Where are you? Dang it. I'm getting lost in this app already. There we go. If I click on my manuscript, I can view everything. I can read through multiple chapters. It's all spread out for me. Everything's looking good. Pretty standard. Pretty standard. Let's continue through some of the other features. Manuscript's done. Very nice. Very easy. If I click over here, we have a timeline feature. I don't use that very much, but it's in here. It's free. We have a plot grid where I can go and I can establish different plot lines and say which chapters make progress on which plot lines. I can also build in some setups and some payoffs that I'm planning for my story. So I can go in here and I can say, in the setup, we're gonna make a promise. What are we gonna say? The answer is in the book. And then I can say when it pays off, and I can keep track of these setups and payoffs. I think that's kind of neat. That's an important thing that I am thinking about when I'm drafting. I'll start writing a detail and I'll be like, I know how I want to use this later. You could keep track of that. I would normally just use a note for that for one of my chapters, but now there's a whole dedicated place for it. Cool, never seen that before. We can have a calendar. I've seen the setup and payoff feature. So you've seen it, Kaylee. I think it's kind of a cool feature. It feels so easy to implement, and I'm glad it's there. I would use that. As long as the friction between writing and accessing that was low, I would definitely use that feature. J-Sam, hello. We also have relationships. So here we can view things as a tree. I think I haven't played around with this too much. Oh my God, I'm getting lost. Generations up, generations down. What is as graph? I'm lost. There we go. There's something to do with the tree here. I haven't quite figured this one out because I don't really use that kind of graphing thing very much. Opus Writer has a cool feature. I'll check that out, Molly. Thanks for sharing. I'm always looking for new tools to check out. Interesting. This is a cool feature. I want your opinion on something. Firstwater says, there's a lot of loving in my current novel, and it makes finding family tree makers hard because a lot of them don't let siblings be the parents of the child. And that's not the world I want to live in. You know what? What a travesty. Let me show you something. I want your opinion on this next feature. The option's called dialogue. And what it does is it shows in order, chronologically, all of the dialogue from certain characters. And every dialogue that has a name directly attached to it, it automatically detects that that was either said by Devin or that was said by Trent. But it doesn't, if it's not 100% sure, it guesses, right? So like this one, this is his fever. His dad ass twisting and kneading at the wet dough in front of him. So that's actually meant to be Trent. I can click over here and I can see this. Now, this is interesting to me, mostly because the whole point is you can read through here and you can change the dialogue said by your character here, and it'll update it at the source in your story. which the more I think about, the more I'm like, you know what? I kind of like that, especially because by the time when I start my story and I'm writing this character, by the time I get to the end of the story, I know the character so much more. I know their voice in a much more like unique way, how to express that. One of the biggest things I'm editing for is I go back and I make sure that their voice at the beginning of the novel now matches how I understand them at the end of the novel. So this is like a shortcut to going through here and touching that up. So I've never seen that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Helps for if you're struggling to keep a character's voice consistent. Yeah. My antagonist was such a headache and I have to standardize them throughout. That's so neat. This is a feature I've never seen in another writing tool, and I've got a bunch of them, you know? So pretty unique. And this is just some random thing I downloaded off the App Store that I was like, I'll check this out. It looks kind of interesting and it's completely free. This is called Novelist, is what we're gonna call it. I think it's supposed to be pronounced Novelist, but we're gonna call it Novelist. And you can find it. I don't know if it's available in Windows or anything like that. I got it off the App Store here. But I thought this was a very cool feature. Let's continue going through. Next, we have a style report, which is the kind of thing you might buy a whole other tool like Pro Writing Aid for. This is gonna tell me the amount of adverbs that I have, the amount of filter words. I can expand these and see them. It doesn't look like I can navigate to them. Stock phrases, no stock phrases. Passive voice. Kind of cool that I can view it. I do wish it would let me jump to that point of my story if I wanted to fix something. So that's maybe not the best thing there. Doesn't look like it's in Microsoft App Store. That doesn't surprise me, though. Normally I would see it the other way. Yeah, it's a whole different beast making something for Microsoft. But I'm sorry to hear that. There's a couple other things I want to point out here that I thought were kind of interesting. There's a built-in planning board. You can go in here, you can create multiple boards, you add different cards. I can connect them however I want. Connect, bam. Hold on, connect. Bam, there we go, now we got it. You know what? Let's say I'm gonna use this for doing a plot. It looks like you can't rename these boards, kind of a bummer, because now they're all just called board. Not everything's perfect. If I was gonna use this board for, oh my God, I just hit board again. If I was gonna use this for plot stuff, let's say I wanted this to be my outline for my story. What I do like about this is in the bottom right, you can select a card and then make that a scene. And you could use this to make sure you're pinpointing and hitting all these different specific things. So like the introduction, Devin comes home after being fired and lies to his father. I can select that, make this a scene, and now it's in the manuscript right here. That's kind of cool, especially if you're starting from this. There's definitely going to be better sort of flowchart, digital whiteboard kind of tools out there. But anything that you can do in this app that integrates with the other tools, that's worth having. Big sad, Absalent says. Hate the Mac versus PC stuff in the year of our Lord. Unfortunately, that do be the case. Let's hop over into the Codex. This is interesting. The Codex is your location for keeping track of your characters and locations and stuff like that. This is where you go to say, I'm gonna create an entry for this birthday note. This is what the note says. I'm gonna keep track of that. But what's cool about it is you have another tag called the Wiki. And the Wiki is sort of a homepage that automatically updates from all of your Codex information. So for example, I've done this codex entry for my character of Devin, where I've gone through and I can go in and fill out stuff about his arc. I can go out and fill just information about him. It has an option to run a character interview like what we saw before in Babisco, maybe. But all of the information I put here is separate from the wiki, which is going to keep track of where Devin shows up throughout the story. And it even links to, so I can click over and see, you know, he appears with Trent Briggs X amount of times. He contributes to this plot line. Here's when the exact story or part of the story he shows up in. I imagine this is interesting towards the end of your book when you actually have a lot of information in here. Kaylee says this is cool. It is cool. It is cool. Let's keep going. You are not ready for what I'm about to show you next. When you think this tool can't get any cooler, you haven't seen me click on the maps option. Because what else can this tool do? Not only can you create maps and put markers on there, you can generate new lands inside of this tool. I'll create a new map. This is gonna be Avant-Garde, the land of Avant-Garde. You can see I can go in here. You know, I could try to draw things in here. I have some stamps. Let's do I can. Oh, by the way, you could also upload an image. So if you have a map done somewhere else, that's kind of cool. I want to draw like a land. I see road. I see river. Oh yeah, look at that river. What happened? What happened to my oh. That's kind of sick, right? Right? Isn't that kind of cool? Now I'm just clicking around, but there's also a generate land that's gonna give me. Oh no! Ah! Oh, kind of crazy. Oh my God! It's got a 3D view. It keeps getting better. Guys, I clicked on 3D view and now my computer is heating up. I gotta know. Maybe I wish I hadn't generated so many different lands on top of each other. What if my whole computer shuts down? Loading tree assets. I have to know though. I have to know what we're about to see. What do they mean by 3D view? Is this gonna be like a flight simulator kind of thing? I'm gonna see the whole land down below. It's also got a test map option at the top. What does it mean, test map? We'll forever remember his videos and computer explosion that took his life and his books. Yes, yes, yes. I think this might have frozen my computer or the app though. We had a good run. All right. Let me force quit this and then open it up again, and we'll try it without me putting like a bunch of crap on the screen. I have to know. It's you. Bro, it's using 100% of my CPU. I can't believe the stream didn't crash. So sick. Am I still live? Is it still happening? Did we crash? All right. I fixed it. We can still say, okay. All right, we're back, baby. All right, let's go back into the maps. I'm gonna try it again. This time we only have one little layer. What's this one? It may just be broken. I don't know how up to date this thing is, but you can see why I was like, this is a hidden gem. This tool has everything. It's got a map generator. It's got some kind of 3D view. There's an option to test the map, which I can only imagine means I'm able to walk around. I just don't know how that's gonna work. Oh my God. How did they do this? WASD. Oh my God, they got full 3D models in for the, look at this! This is a writing tool! Brother! I wish, I need to figure out how to turn. Okay, right, you can go up and down. Trying to figure out how to turn my head. I'm just stuck looking down. I can't believe they did this. Now, would I ever use this? I don't know, man. I don't know. Is it cool that there is like a writing tool that that I'm in? Look at the polygons, dude. That's way too high quality for this. You gotta decimate these. Look at that. Why is it so high quality? That's insane. These should be like low poly. They are not. Oh, man, I wish I could look towards the sky because it shows like the sun. Cloud elevation, cloud density, cloud coverage. Oh, there we go. Get the sun moving. I am a giant square in this world. Get us some golden hour. What the heck? You can measure? Scale. Okay. All right. We played around with it. It's crazy. How do I close this? Okay, there we go. RIP my computer. Wow. Okay, let's get out of the maps. You can see though, this is wild. Let's keep going. There's more. Languages. How many people here are making languages for their story? I know we have some. Invented languages and their dictionaries. Search reads both the word and what it means, so you can find out whether you've already coined something. Stacey says, I clicked on this random stream, learned about this tool, and you just solved all of my needs. Hey, let's go. It's... Stacey, the journey of getting to this tool has been a wild one. But we're seeing something crazy here. This is groundbreaking. Carsonese. So you can search, so I can coin, Kayla says, I'm literally downloading this right now. It's a hidden gem. I'm telling you. Tell me how, Kaylee, when you search it up, tell me how many ratings or reviews it has, because I can't remember what it has. Talos means fire. Pretty easy. Gados means water. Easy. All right. This is the third thing I've downloaded this stream. That's the danger of free writing tools. You're gonna end up being a little collector, getting all the writing tools. Don't forget Lorge. Don't forget Lorge. I sent the information to the hubs, told him to download it. I'm kicking him out of this test tomorrow. I'm glad you guys see the potential. I was worried that everyone was gonna be like, this is too much. Languages just seems to be like a really easy to search database, but cool that they have it. Research, this is just your notes, your scratch pad. One thing I have noticed, and you'll see it up here right now, is my biggest frustration with this tool so far is that a lot of the UI is sort of cut off and scaled in a way that's not really readable. You know, it's not a deal breaker, but it will take some misclicks to finally figure out exactly what like each button does. Upload some images, and I need your help with this one. I need someone who speaks this language. Hold on, you can't see it. What is this word here? That has an option on this app, says expose, which you can export this Normcyten. Where's Frey? Frey, help me out here. What is this? Because I Googled this, there's nothing in their documentation about this. I don't understand the need for this. Standard page for print. Oh, so maybe. Maybe this is like your copyright page, your title page. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. Some unit of measurement. It just exports it in docx, so I don't know what's happening there. It has a whole other export tool. You can export into EPUB, PDF, Final Draft if you're doing a screenplay kind of thing. It's got some built-in, hey, look at that, built-in, there you are again, what are you? Title page, book cover. I don't know, man, it looks pretty sick. Front and back matter, you can add your dedication. You can add a prologue, a half title, also by this author. What in the world? How do I edit that? Oh, okay, okay. This book is for all the fellas. All the fellas. So interesting. I'd have to play around with this. If you send your manuscript to agents or publishers in Germany, it needs to be in Normcyten. Okay, a reference unit used to estimate the length of a manuscript. Interesting. It's got Git version control. My God. It's also got more insight. Word frequency. Continuity. Pacing. I don't know what any of these things do. Where do people show up in the book? Statistics. How many chapters, how many scenes, how many words, how many characters, how many pages, if there's 350 words per page. And then, all right, I forgot about this. Just when you think it couldn't get any better, what if there is something in this tool that's not in this tool that you really want? What would you do? Well, hopefully you could just go to the extension store and say, you know what? I want to be able to export into more formats. Hey, guess what? I want to be able to import Scrivener. Who else just perked up at their table? Wait a second. Handled by Novelist itself, adds older layouts and edge cases. Interesting. So you could say, oh, this is something I need. Install, done, you have it. Now there's not a lot of these plugins. There's only like 5. And I already added the Insight and the Format one. Check this out. Publish generates a self-contained static website of your codex that opens from disk and uploads anywhere. Huh? Now you can export your codex and all your information into one HTML file. Upload it somewhere. Share it with a friend. What else is on your toolkit? All right, there's some people in here I know will like this. I think Rosewater, you might like this. Sprints, a timer with a word target, a rest interval, and a history. Counts what you wrote during the sprint. So a session spent cutting all records the words you put down. Interesting. One person who wanted a good writing tool. That's insane. Shout out. We gotta hunt this guy down. Maybe when we put this video out, we'll send it over to their Discord or something. I like this. Every to-do comment in the book on one board grouped by chapter. I love that. I still got the programmer's brain of making a bunch of to-do comments throughout something. I like that. Dictionary and thesaurus, offline name generator. Paste a web address and keep the readable text of the page as a research note. Guys, I think we found something special. Let's see what else we got here in our settings. Appearance, interface language. We got some themes. Interesting. Default, we got Discord. Okay. It's got a themes folder so you can make your own. Editor, choose your font. Read aloud speed. Wait a second. Hold on. How do I get it to read my story aloud? I think that could be useful. Where are you at? Ah, here you are.
Before him and others would
Did you hear this?
High school step to college, college to work, and work to this. The subtle clicking of a mouse wheel scrolling through pages of data entry. A beige cubicle and a chair with ample lumbar support.
Can you guys hear that?
Called it preventative care. A short hair carpet vacuumed at 6 in the evening just after.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, look, it does what it says.
Organized by a dozen factors by an uncaring computer with a hard drive hard. Stockholders were angry and cost cutting was needed. Devin's name landed on row 23. Devin.
I mean, you know what? That's part of a free tool. That's pretty sick. So that was read aloud speed. Read aloud, match the writing language. The voice your system has installed. Oh my god, look at all the voices. Oh my god. What? This is too many. This is too many voices. That's crazy, dude. Are we getting a sneak peek at Tiny Doors? You're getting an old draft, an old proto draft of an opening I've cut. That's crazy, dude. Accessibility. Editor typeface, only one typeface. Okay. Switch to the high contrast theme. Writing goals, project deadline, daily word goal, weekly word goal, monthly word goal. This is wild, dude. There's just so much here. Your name on suggested edits. Your name on suggested edits. Only worth filling in when more than one person is suggesting. Is that... Am I understanding that it's saying that different people could be making comments on the story? Because that makes me feel like there's some collaboration in here. You can use language tool. If you don't know what language tool is, it's going to be like a pro writing aid. If you have an API access to it, which probably I would assume just comes with your subscription, you could build it in natively here. Kind of neat. Native language, mother tongue. Can you tell it to read in more than one language at a time? It looks like you're just selecting one. I'll let you hear another one of them. Let's go bad news. Bubbles. Yeah, what the hell? I mean, what the heck? It's a family-friendly stream. Let's get flow. Back to our chapter. Go in here. Guys, oh no. They're not all winners.
That the next step would be safe. Others had come before him and others would come after. High school step to college.
That's terrible. Okay, hold up. They're not all winners. Hold on. Let's fix this. All right, flow is not the one we're going for here. Oh, I wish there was a little button here to just test it out real fast. All right, who do we got here? No. What? This is Jester? Oh my god. Who who was expecting that one? Oh no. That was terrible. We got to change that ASAP. All right, so now what I'm guessing is that some of these voices, it's still going off in my headphones. Some of these voices, oh man, I think some of these are gonna be like sound effects, like whisper. Do you want your whole story whispered to you? Hold on, I'm on it. Say no more. Let's find out together.
Devin had spent his life following the steps laid out before him, like lily pads across a flat pond. He took one step after the other, trusting that the next step would be safe. Others had come before him and others would come after. High school step to college,
Says, hell yeah.
college to work, and work to this. The subtle clicking of the mouse.
All right, that's enough of that one. All right, there's got to be a good one in here. There's no way that the one we heard first was just the best one. Zorvox. Oh, Zarvox. My next work was horror. What if that was the audiobook? What if I whispered the whole audiobook? All right, let's just go Samantha. Come on, Samantha. Samantha. Come on, Samantha. Help us out here. Here, let me make sure you can hear this. There's got to be a good one in here.
Devin had spent his life following the steps laid out before him. Like lilipuds across a flat pond, he took one step after the other,
All right,
trusting
Spartan
that the next step would be
grandma.
safe. Others had come before him and others would come.
All right, you don't need to tell me twice. Well, I mean, you did, but you did need to tell me twice. All right, now which grandma are we going for? Grandma. Let's get a British. Let's get us a UK grandma. I bet this is going to be nice and pleasant and not at all worrisome. And any possible interpretation of this is just going to be a nice, pleasant experience.
Devon had spent his life following the steps laid out before him. Like lilipuds across a flat pond, he took one step after the other, trusting that the next step would be safe. Others had come before him and others would come after. High school step to college, call it to work, and work to this. The subtle clicking of a mouse.
That's disappointing. There's probably some jokes to be made here, but we're better than that. The jester was the laughing one. Junior is probably some little kid. We're gonna try one more voice. I just want to know that there's like another like okay voice in here. I was stunned at all the options, but now I'm realizing having so many options, likely not a good thing. See if we can get it going down here.
Stop. He
All right,
rubbed
well.
his thumbs against the subtle grain of the steering wheel and clenched his jaw.
Oh,
His
well,
eyes were red and irritated.
We
dry
tried.
from crying on the drive home.
Samantha's the best
At
one.
least
I bet
traffic wasn't
knowing this
bad.
tool, there may even be a way
He
to
could
upload
hurry
your own
home as
sort of
fast as
thing
he
to
wanted.
it.
Hurry home.
Oh god, I gotta stop. This is gonna drive me crazy. Get the lo-fi back on. There we go. all right. Let's see. Turns out there's some interesting stuff here in the settings. So we saw the writing goals, writing assistance, editing your global defaults. Oh, this is the naming your comments. Templates, love that. So you can modify all of those hard-coded values in here. Add a custom field. Favorite food. I like that because I'm not going to use some of these very much. I wouldn't use build. Wouldn't use roll maybe. Very cool. Very cool. Keyboard shortcuts. Love me some keyboard shortcuts. Plenty of them. I'm sorry, I gotta scroll through these because who knows what else we're gonna find. Zender, hello! Zender, you missed some crazy stuff. Labels in a scene in this book can carry needs a beta read, cut but keeping, one per thread. Each has a name and a color, so some custom stuff. This is where you can make your own theme. Word completion, very cool. Groups and factions. Scene templates, tags, scene and chapter fields. Zender, I wish it could be that easy. Diagnostics and extensions. All right, we went through everything. I feel pretty safe in recommending this tool. It is fun to use, fun to play around with. I don't think you're going to use everything in the sidebar because that would be wild. But the fact that someone has put together this, I think that there are some really good things in here. Some things I think are stand out about this app. Going into the manuscript, let me go in here and oh god. Oh, by the way, I guess Kaylee was the one who was talking about this. Look at this. As many windows as you need. Now we gotta close them all. God. Looks like you can also pop out windows. Very cool. I was looking for this. I really wanted to be able to clean up the writing space. And look, there you can do it right there. Interesting. Okay, having an issue here. Let's go back into... There we go. I do wish, I'm looking at this now, I think that the writing experience in here doesn't look the best. I think it could be a little bit nicer to write in. Hey, that's better. It has everything. So that's like, maybe this is just reading mode. How do I leave a comment? That'd be good to know. Oh yeah, we didn't even look at the formatting. Comment FN. Zender, don't look too closely. Poor phrasing. What is this? There's a pencil up here. What does this do? Oh, is that just... What the hell? What is this? What am I seeing here? All right, you know what? There are some things that are still just still up to mystery. I will have you know, it says took to one because I happen to be use the D key when I'm trying to see if a text field works. Ya jerks. Zinder, Novelist, is it pronounced like Chevy what the Chevy Novelist or Novelist? There is another writing tool that we already looked at in the last live stream called Novelist. And so this one is spelled N-O-V-A list, so we call it Novelist. It's probably supposed to be Novelist. Kaylee, you're allowed to poke fun. You're allowed to poke fun. All right, all right. You know, all in all though, it's a pretty great tool. I think it's worth checking out for something that's completely free. I think the biggest downside you're looking at here is the fact that there's not much documentation. And if you encounter a bug, it's pretty unlikely because this seems to not be a tool that is super popular. It's pretty unlikely that you're going to be able to find answers to your problems. We did find out that there is a Discord for it. If you like this tool and you want to see it continue to grow, probably the best thing you could do is go to the Discord and say, you did a great job making this. Really excited to see where it goes. I think that's really neat. Now it has 5 people in it. Look at that. So I think there is a little bit of that risk. You know, if you download Scrivener, you know that if you encounter a bug, there's like a company behind it who's actively trying to fix those bugs. But we found out that this is a tool made just by Isabella. Can I pop the link to the stream if YouTube will let you? Yeah, go ahead. If YouTube will let you do it. It even looks like I'm looking at the screen here. Here's where you can track submissions. It's just got a little bit of everything. I think there's a little bit of a risk in that if you sink a lot of time into doing this tool, you may not get answers to those kinds of questions that you're looking for, but we will see. All in all, I think this is a hidden gem. It's a little rough around the edges. It's not going to be as polished as these really big tools that we might have looked at before, but it is so much fun. And honestly, that's what's been missing in a lot of writing tools. Just some fun. I hope you agree. I think I need to put together a tier list. That'll be good for the video. Let's do, let me whip that up real fast. Tier list maker. Give me a second to get that going. We want Nova list. Gotta grab this logo real fast. If I'm gonna do this right. Go ahead and start thinking about what your tier list would be for some of these tools. Because it can't be a writing theory live stream without a tier list somewhere. Got a Nova list. We need Focus Writer, LibreOffice, Focus Writer logo. Boom. Image. You're seeing behind the scenes of how annoying it is to have to get all these dang logos. Focus Writer, LibreOffice, Google Doc SSS Plus. Look, we all know Google Doc is the GOAT. I mean, it's competing with Scrivener, of course. I would say if I had to pick, LibreOffice. Of course, it's going to be hard to beat Scrivener, but for a free tool, For free tool, Novalis is pretty good. Lore Forge, Zedler, Babisco, Y Rider. Lore Forge. Oh my. Heck. Babisco logo. Maps function alone is wild. Oh yeah, Zender, I don't know if you were in here for this. That writing tool that we were checking out just a minute ago had a whole map generator in it and a way that you could explore it in 3D. Is maybe the right word. That's something. Babisco. All right, and then the last one was Y Rider. Y Rider is, I gotta be honest, I hate the name. I cannot say it quickly. Y Rider. It makes me feel like I have an issue. I need to make a new tier list. Free writing tools. How do I, what the heck? Where's my create a new one? Maps in 3D with ridiculously detailed trees. Maybe that's why it almost crashed my whole computer to load it up. Oh, does Tier Maker not let you make something now? Make your own template. There we go. Single use. Here we go. All right. We're almost there, folks. We're almost there. We have Y Rider, Babisco, Lore Forge, got all those. 5, and we only did one more. And that goes into my desktop. Okay. We're almost there. All right. Rosewater asked the most specific question I've ever seen in my life. So if someone could get started on that. All right. We got a couple things here. All the tools that we looked at today, we got Y Rider, Babisco, Lore Forge, LibreOffice, Focuswriter, Novalist. So here's the deal. You know, when we're comparing something like a free tool to a premium tool, you have this expectation that the premium tool is going to be exactly that. It's going to be premium, it's going to be nice, it's going to do everything that you need it to do because you paid money for that. And expectations seem to slip down a little bit when we start talking about free tools, but that shouldn't impact the judging here. I think we can still say like, okay, this tool, you know, even if it's free, does it solve all of my problems? I'm judging this based on the idea that this writing tool is either one, a fully featured, reliable, fun, easy to use writing tool that either targets a specific part of your process or the entire process, right? A tool that does it all, I think is really good, but I also think a tool that does this specific thing really well is just as valuable, especially when we're talking about free tools. So our first one that we're looking at, Y Rider. Y Rider is a tool that is just not quite modern enough. The writing experience being what it is, in my opinion, makes it almost unusable. The fact that there is not a way to easily read back entire chapters or even your whole manuscript without exporting it, I think in the modern era of writing tools is unforgivable. And whether that feature is in there or not, the fact that me being a pretty technically proficient person was not able to find it if it does exist in there it doesn't bode well for YWriter. I think if you put a lot of time into learning this tool back when it was coming out and it was new and fresh and it was the big thing, then you probably love YWriter. But now if you're looking across the landscape of writing tools that are available, YWriter just does not hold the candle to them. I'm gonna put this in C tier. It's got that same old Windows aesthetic. And you know what? I will say maybe there's a difference between the Windows and Linux versions, which is definitely sort of its home, and what we saw on the Mac version, which is what I was using. Is that right? Or was I thinking of Abisco? Maybe I'm thinking of Babisco on that one. All in all, I think YWriter is in a C tier. Which brings us to Babisco. Let me open up Babisco again here. I think Babisco is pretty good. I think as a free tool, Babisco would be awesome. I think that the fact that it's gone from being a free tool as I knew it way off in the past, and I could have this wrong, just the blurring of time and ages and what I remember back then. There are some things I think are totally fine to put behind a paywall, and if this is a feature that you want to have, and then of course go support the creators, like the mind map. I think that makes total sense. This is a pretty big feature to put in your tool to get what you want. The timeline, I totally get. Maybe you want to put these behind a paywall. Things like specific fonts, I think putting specific font choices behind a paywall does not bode well for the life of the tool. That's a pretty bad look. And you know, this is an application. It's not like I'm on, you know, a website. It's an application. I would love for it to also have fonts that I've downloaded onto my machine. And you're harping on, you probably think I'm harping on the font choice kind of thing, but I mean, font does play into how you see your book. You're going to be looking at that font for 100 hours as you write your story. I think there's too much behind a paywall to say that this is a really great free tool. Now, how does it compare to other premium paid for tools? I think the thing is, once you get to that point, it's so hard to beat the value of Scrivener. So even something that's $6 a month, if that's what this is, I don't even recall, paying 1 year for that tool is more expensive than buying a lifetime access to Scrivener. It's always going to be hard to beat. Yeah, that's just a tough one. I like what Babisco's doing as a free tool, though. I don't think it's quite there. I would put it pretty firmly in the B tier as a free tool. And if they unlock some of those things, I think it could be real good. As a free tool right now, I put it in B, not quite to A, but on its way there, you know. Next we have LoreForge. Let's get a little reminder here. LoreForge, visually, I love it. I think it looks great. I like what they've done with the aesthetic. I would be happy to open this up and to keep writing in it. There were some things in here that made sense. Some things I felt were a little clunky. I feel like there's a promise almost being made with use our tools to organize your story, to put everything together, and we'll keep track of it for you, and you can go and write your story. And there's a promise being made here that's just not delivering. So I think deceptively, it looks better than it would actually function as a full-fledged writing tool. So I think LoreForge is not quite where we want it to be. I would put LoreForge in... I think I'm in D tier, unfortunately. I think I'm in D tier. I just don't yet see the value that it can bring. I think it looks nice, though. All right, next we have LibreOffice. LibreOffice is a no-brainer. This is an S tier tool. There is literally nothing about it That is not a premium experience. And there's a reason it's been around for so long and it's so widely known. It is an S tier tool for writing, but I am going to bring it down to A because I am not sold that these tools are the best tools for writing long form work when there are other tools that give you so many quality of life features. That's a tough one. I think the experience of writing there is awesome. I bet there's a ton of incredible templates that you could download and open up in LibreOffice and write something that looks really good. You know exactly how it's going to print. You can format it how you want. It has so many tools. You can do comments, everything that you need. I just think that having to potentially organize your story into multiple files and folders that maybe are not the easiest to switch between quickly is a downside for tools like this. I would imagine that LibreOffice is well developed enough. You can have multiple windows and screens open to reference things, but there is something to be said for very quickly being able to switch across different chapters and scenes to hunt down certain information or research or notes or characters or locations. And I just don't see LibreOffice being able to do that unless there's some features out there that I'm missing out on. As a free tool, 100%. Get it, put it on your computer. That's a no-brainer. As a tool specifically focused for long form writers like us, I think it could be better. It could be really good for editing or formatting your story before you send it off, because it gives you all of those formatting tools. But I'm still gonna say A tier. Nacho LibreOffice. Libre got dethroned. Next, we have Focuswriter. I don't need to remind myself Focuswriter. Focuswriter does one thing, and it does that one thing pretty well. I'm a fan of this idea of distraction-free writing. I totally get it. I love the aesthetic of Focuswriter, but all it is like one text box. And maybe that's what you need. If that's what you're looking for, give it a try. It is free, easy to download, lightweight. You could run it on anything. When I first downloaded Focuswriter, it was probably on like a third-hand laptop that I got from like a dad's friend's coworker before they were gonna throw it away. And I was looking for something to write with, and I found Focuswriter years and years and years ago. That, if I remember correctly, I think even though it's good at that one thing it does, it's probably a C tier writing tool. You could close every window on your computer and open up Notepad and basically have the same tool. It does have timers built in. They feel pretty antiquated. That's kind of it. That's it for Focuswriter. I wish it was more. And our last tool, Novelist, which is how I'm going to pronounce it, even though it's probably pronounced novelist. Novelist is the hidden gem, the underdog. It's the thing that none of us had heard of, that I blindly clicked on in the App Store and downloaded, and I was shocked at the sheer amount of features in there. It is the most featured writing tool I've ever used. Now, that being said, are all of those features good? Are all of those features necessary? And are they all bug-free? Are they all useful? I think most of them are useful. I think some of them, like the map feature of like generating your own map, that's probably not going to be something that a lot of people use. But uploading an image of a map you've created somewhere else, putting some pins in it, that's pretty neat. I really like the codex and the wiki. I think this is interesting. A codex where you keep track of all your characters and locations and whatnot, and then a wiki that just updates as things are referenced and expanded on, and I can see that being pretty useful. I don't feel confident in putting Novelist at S tier. It's not, as a free writing tool, I think it's interesting. I think that it could use some polish in order to really be S tier. And I don't feel confident in saying that while you could go and download this app and start using it today, that it would even be around in a year. It's so small. I hope that changes. I hope the developer of Novelist, who's probably pissed off I'm calling it Novelist and not Novelist, continues with it. I would love to see the journey of this tool as it continues to just get refined. And it could be a really great writing tool. I love it. I'm going to put it in A tier. I'm going to put it below LibreOffice, of course, because LibreOffice is awesome. It is a, you know, huge piece of software. But I think Novelist is totally worth checking out. I think that's all I can say about it is get your hands on it, try it yourself. Maybe there's something in there that it has that no other writing tool has that you find interesting. Like I had never seen this dialogue option where you could see sequentially all the dialogue from a specific character and edit them right there. As you're refining the voice of your character, that seems like a no-brainer. That's so cool. I've never seen something like that before. So I'm interested in where it goes. It could be S tier. I think if it trimmed off some of the fats, I think if it refined its package a little bit, worked a little bit with the UI not being cut off in certain cases, that kind of bugs me over a long period of time that I would be in that app. And then all in all though, how cool is that? It's so cool. You should definitely check out Novelist. I got it in the App Store. I don't even know if it's available on some of these other places. The trees needed to be a bit higher res. Turning your map into 3D and seeing like a million polygon trees is insane. And that's what makes it A tier for sure. If you're interested in some free writing tools, check these out. Maybe you'll find something that works for you. And of course, none of this even touches on the free trials of premium tools. There are some very generous free trials out there that you could try, and some of those tools are definitely worth your money. But if you're, you know, in a pinch, if you don't have the money to spend right now, going for a LibreOffice, that's a great option. Going for a Novelist, if you have a Mac, that's a great option. Even Babisco, I think, is worth checking out. And if you have any other free writing tools, let me know down below. That's going to go in the video. Kaylee says the Novelist Discord only has 7 members. Kaylee, what if we told you before this live stream it only had 3 members? All right, what do you guys think? What do you think about the tier list? Did I get anything wrong? Would you have placed anything differently? We doubled their population. Notes app. I feel the same way about the Notes app as I feel about doing like a Google Docs on a tier list, in the sense of like, it's so well known. I feel like I'm not discovering or adding any new commentary to the Notes app, right? Google Docs is so well known. What could I say about Google Docs that hasn't already been said? You know? A whole novel. And look, someone in the last video commented that they write in NeoVim, which I guess if you spent your career working in Vim, where you never have to take your fingers off the keyboard and you know how to do it, you could do that, but that seems crazy. JSam says, have you ever looked at Ellipsis? Ellipsis, I have. In fact, I said this before. Before I settled on doing the free writing tools, I was looking at Ellipsis and thinking about how I wanted to explore it in a live stream like this. But I ended up going with the free theme. I think Ellipsis is cool. I think it's on its way to being a lot bigger. I think it's gonna get a really good part of the market. And the number one thing I gotta say about Ellipsis is this. They are the only tool I've ever seen as a software offering that offers their product as rent to own, for lack of a better word. You pay for it for a year, however much that is. And then when you go to renew your product at the end of that year, if you decide to renew it, you just own it for life at that point. That is the kind of pricing I want to see on these kind of tools. Let's end this perpetual nonsense. I like ellipses. Why can't houses be like that? They kind of are. They kind of are. You're just renting alone? I don't know. All right. If you find a funnier voice on Novelist than I had, than the Jester and the Grandma, let me know. I recommend you play around with it. I bet there are still features in Novelist that I haven't come across that may be really useful. So let me know, and let them know in the Discord, in the Novelist Discord. Writing Theory says, what up? Keep doing what they're doing. Looking forward to see where it goes. Hope you're still developing it. That's one thing I'm worried about. That's what's keeping it out of the S tier, is I feel like it has an uncertain future, and I'd like to see that future more certain, you know? All that being said, I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun too. I really did not expect all the voices for the Novelist to go down how it went down, but that was a fun part. Thanks for hanging out. I love doing these live streams, and I love being able to hang out with you guys when we're doing something cool like this. And so next time, I'll let you know when we're doing a live stream, and we'll make it more fun, more interactive. I think it's a good time. The Novelist Discord only opened a few days ago. Wow. If you are doing the writing challenge, if you submitted a story for the writing challenge, I'm super excited. I have not started reading them yet, but that's what this weekend is for. I typically try to give myself at least 2 weekends to get through all the stories. I'm excited. I always am a little nervous, making sure that like I am able to finish reading all the stories and give everyone the due diligence and the time to read all their stuff. Hopefully the 1,000 to 3,000 word limits will help. It was tough reading 20 stories and they were all about 5,000 words, especially you, and you know who you are, those people who are like, oh, there's a 5,000 word limit. I'm gonna write 5,300 words and then trim everything down to the exact limit for my story. I love it. I enjoy reading them, but if everyone does that, it kills me. Oh man, but it's gonna be a good time. I'll keep you guys all updated for making sure that we're on pace to be able to score the stories, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. I wish we could have gotten chat on the screen. That would have been fun, but I'll do that next time. Barnes, I'm glad I actually got to participate in this challenge. Yes, I'm glad as well. Rosewater says, I would like to apologize for my story in advance. We'll see. We'll see if I accept that apology. We'll see. Everyone have a great rest of the day. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you next time, and I will definitely see you around the Discord. Take care.